What about the idea, though, of agent provocateurs, people that are paid to cause a ruckus at these events? And they say that there's people there during the George Floyd protests, and there's people there at lots of protests. As a matter of fact, I think Alex Jones exposed this. World Trade Organization did it in Seattle years ago, where they had people go there to cause a disturbance in order to make the police get involved. So is agent provocateurs, is that a real thing, or is that another conspiracy tinfoil hat thing?
No, I don't think it's a tinfoil hat thing. I think that, you have to, but the problem is that people are willing to believe anything that they read or see,
Yeah.
right? At this point in time, everybody's got ADHD and nobody bothers to do their own research because, everybody's busy trying to put food on the table or whatever the hell it is. And, so you don't have an inquisitive public for the most part. So, yes, we're willing to believe anything that we see. And so what that opens up is the opportunity for people to influence opinion like never before, right? And whether we're talking about people here, homegrown trying to influence public opinion, or whether you're talking about Russian bots or the Chinese regime working very hard to influence U.S. policy to their benefit, people have to, and it all comes down to personal responsibility and, just taking action on your own. Don't wait for somebody to ride in and save you. Do your own research.
And I agree, Mike. That's what I'm saying. These people, they want to always play a victim. That's what the left does, guys. Everybody has an excuse to be a victim. I try to tell people everybody has something in their life where you can say, oh, I should be a victim. I could victimize. That mentality is so cancerous. And now we all have this thing where we all want to be a victim. And I think that's one of the things that's causing our, society to erode. My father, he's a little bit of a JFK expert. And now he's going around saying the FBI, CIA was involved. What happened with we're in Dallas, Texas. We're actually on a blimp floating above Dealey Plaza. Was it a lone gunman, Lee Harvey Oswald, or was there more to it, in your opinion, Mike?
Yeah, I'm not willing to say there wasn't more to it. I don't have any specific information that says one way or the other. I don't tend to be a conspiracy theorist, but I understand why this one and MLK have persisted as long as they have. Personally, I think there's more reason to be suspicious about outside involvement in Martin Luther King's assassination.
Yep.
But yeah, the Kennedy assassination, look, it traumatized the world, not just the nation, right? So the idea that Lee Harvey Oswald, one idiot, right, with a rifle, could do that to the nation and to the world, for a lot of people, that's incomprehensible. So I understand why this idea that there's something bigger. I don't have specific information, but it's much like outside alien life. I'm not willing to shut the door and say absolutely not, because you don't have all the evidence on the table.
Yeah,
and so I spent some time. If people want to, hey, check out an old show, America Declassified. We did an entire episode on the Kennedy assassination, and it was, as well as something for Martin Luther King. Very interesting stuff.
No, I think definitely Martin Luther King, there was definitely some red flags. It might have looked like there was some foul play. And it's funny you say that, Mike, because when I bring it up with my dad, I'm very close to my dad, and I say, oh, there might have been more than Lee Harvey Oswald, my dad gets triggered. And my dad's really laid back, but I say that, I'm like, oh, there's a conspiracy behind it. I think because he was so traumatized by it, he doesn't like me, I guess, shattering the reality in which that he had. And he feels right, and I'm wrong, so that's part of it too, because he's a dad maybe yelling at his idiot kid. Okay, Mike, so the Iran-Contra, supposedly the CIA flew in drugs and sold cocaine. Is this true or is this false? I believe it to be true. I think it's all been declassified. Has the CIA ever sold cocaine?
No. I know that's going to disappoint a lot of people who seem to think the agency was in charge of the crack epidemic and everything in between, but no. Well, we've got a counter-narcotics operation, a counter-narcotics center. It supports essentially from operations and intelligence side of things, and it supports DEA and international law enforcement and other things, but no, the agency's never been in the drug dealing business, and I know that runs counter to what some people think.
Yeah, I know. I don't really like that answer. Okay, one last thing, Mike, and this is not a gotcha, because I don't want to get you mad, and I know you're not going to answer it. What happened with 9/11, Mike? I know you don't like to talk about it. What happened there? Is there any red flags in 9/11? Is all according everything in the 9/11 Commission report is correct?
Yeah, there's no mysteries. This is one of those things where, look, I mean, from my perspective, I look at 9/11 and it's an operational screw up, right?
Yeah.
That it's an operational concern, but there's no. That's where you do get, sort of the
in the weeds.
The conspiracy theories coming in and saying, but sometimes one thing I learned from a long time working in operations is that things sometimes are exactly as simple as they seem.
Wow.
Right? And yeah, so but with 9/11, we missed signals, we missed indicators, and part of it was what you referenced early on, which was sort of a lack of coordination, not just between the Bureau and the agency, but our allies, our liaison partners. And we took our eye off the ball because for some reason, we occasionally have a hard time multitasking.
I know, and I like that answer. I'm so thankful for answering, but I got to ask one last question. Why didn't we find any weapons of mass destruction? What's the deal with that, in your opinion, real quick, Mike, before you go?
Yeah, that's yeah. I would argue that we relied on something you should never do in intelligence. We relied on one sketchy source who was pushing intelligence. And if you can't triangulate and if you can't corroborate your intelligence through independent sources reporting the same thing, then you don't have an operation. It's like building an investigation on assumptions, right? It's not an investigation. You're speculating, right? You're trying to prove a theory that you've come up with. And so it was flawed intelligence at the outset, and it was unfortunately a fatal but not completely uncommon flaw in the way that organizations run intelligence sometimes. They can over-rely on one source.
Well, it's a travesty, but I really appreciate all the fine work you're doing, and I know you are a patriot. You love America, so continue to keep kicking butt, Mike. Thank you so much.
I'm so fly, I'm aligned with the planes. My grind so refined, I got no time for no games. Ask yourself why.